Using professionals were evident in our findings when paraprofessionals and parents used the scale. This is an extremely important finding because it suggests then that when paraprofessionals and parents are using the scale, that they're interpreting items and using them in the same way as the professionals are when you get the exact same factor analysis results. I think that service learning really does set the stage for students to get exposure to a variety of people who live in a variety of circumstances with a multitude of problems that they're grappling with. Growing up in Western Pennsylvania, we really didn't have very much. My mother was raised in West Virginia in poverty, without running water, without electricity. My father grew up in Pennsylvania, had to quit school after the 8th grade and went to the military to send money home. I was the youngest of 4. I am the first one in my family, either side of my family, to go to college, and that even though the financial support wasn't there, the moral support was always there, and that really meant the world to me. Sometimes my students tease me a little bit because they come in and they look at my filing cabinet and they say, gee, if people didn't know better, they'd think you have 6 or 7 kids, but I just have a lot of pictures of them. And even when I get more updated pictures, I have trouble taking the older ones down. Tracy and I have been married for 25 years, and I took a year off after my undergraduate work, and I worked as a crisis worker. We ended up buying Irma Bombeck's original house in Centerville, which was a very, very interesting connection with her being, you know, such a big figure from UD. Now, I always joke around with my friends that please tell people that this is the house she lived in before she became rich and famous, or otherwise someone might have a grandiose idea of of the community that I live in. Lovaas was interested in comparing what he called an intensive treatment group. There were 19 people in.
First of all, I like that it's not just like a lecture.
Like showing more sensitive changes, I think, would be better for the outcome.
He likes to interact with his students.
What would be the purposes of this type of convergent validity?
And I really like his approach to teaching because he takes an integrative approach and he combines teaching with research and service.
I started using service learning in the 90s, and this was for that project that I received the Service Learning Awards. Students need to be able to apply theory and research to real-life examples. My current emphasis is on service learning projects focused on homelessness. And these students will work in homeless shelters such as Daybreak.
My experiences here have definitely helped shape my interests and my goals for my career. One thing, I've done a lot of work with clients who have been victims of family or intimate partner violence.
So we're going to talk about self-awareness.
I mainly do work with the token economy, and so it's basically how clients here earn their rental subsidy, and it's really neat because I get to meet them the second they move in, and I really get to see how they develop here and take a hand in trying to help them succeed here.
Well, this is the only class where I was approached with this opportunity. It was surprising in that no other professor had asked me to be engaged in service learning. And it stuck to me so much. 2 years later, I'm still involved with Dr. Reeb and service learning and homelessness, and I go all the time down to St. Vincent's and still help out.
So I developed this community service self-efficacy scale. It's based theoretically on Bandura's self-efficacy theory. And so if you can foster mastery experiences in students as they're out there working in the community, you will be improving their sense of self-efficacy. The psychoecological systems model is an integrative approach that I developed in conjunction with one of my graduate students a few years ago, Susan Folger. This model integrates 3 theoretical developments: the biopsychosocial model. It also incorporates the Bandura's principle of reciprocal determinism. Finally, this model, which my students fondly refer to as PESM as an acronym, incorporates the ecological system model developed originally by Yuri Bronfenbrenner, which looks at all of the layers of systems surrounding the person. And this model, PESM, is a driving force behind the course that I've developed for the Common Academic Program in the fall, which we've called Engaged Scholarship for Homelessness. And I encourage them to work with me at a level where they can earn co-authorship on papers and presentations at professional conferences. And that type of research mentoring, I think, is a very important aspect of teaching beyond the classroom.
Hi, I'm Partha Banerjee from Electro-Optics and Electrical and Computer Engineering. This is my lab. I call it sometimes by different names. The current short form for it is, I think, HAM, standing for Holography and Metamaterials. And what we do in the lab are experiments on optics. These are optical tables where we mainly do work on holography and characterization of optical materials, particularly optical metamaterials. I grew up in Calcutta, India, and I was there from when I was born in '57 till 1974, when I went off to undergraduate school in a city close to Calcutta. And after I graduated from there, I came to the U.S., to the University of Iowa. My interest in science really has come from the fact that you know, I think when I was a young guy, my dad certainly prodded me on to science. And in fact, when I was 6 years old, he asked me a question. He pointed to me the sky and he showed me the contrails of an aircraft. And sure enough, of course, he was an aircraft engineer. But he asked me where they came from. And after scratching my head, I didn't know too much. I blurted out that, well, those are condensation of water droplets. You know, much later on, the work we are doing currently has to do with how light disperses from water droplets. It's a process called me resonance. And so in this experiment, what's being done is holograms are being generated for water droplets. And the water droplets really, in this case, are air bubbles that are being blown into the water tank. And what you would see on this computer screen are what are called inline holograms of those air bubbles. For instance, as you see, these places over here where you see these circles, these are the locations of the air bubbles.
We try to do holograms of all sorts of things, so this is just a dime, right? And try to make these reflective holograms of a dime, so we illuminate it like that.
One of the work that we do in the area of digital holography, as you know, it has a lot of applications in 3D imaging, how to generate 3D images very efficiently. And as you know, you can buy 3D TVs these days. This might be an alternate way of generating 3D images. You generate the hologram, essentially record it on a digital camera, and then you reconstruct the image, which is the three-dimensional image, numerically by doing computations from all the data you have gathered on the computer. The other thing that I've been also working on in the lab, and that's something I also have on the cover page of the book, is metamaterials. And metamaterials have been in prominence over the last, I would say, 10 years or so because of their very strange properties. One of the commonly known properties known to the public is cloaking. How you would take a metamaterials, say, gown, and then make yourself invisible.
What is it? Some kind of cloak. Well, let's see then. Put it on. Whoa! My body's gone. I know what that is. That's an invisibility cloak. I'm invisible.
Well, we are not up to that point as yet, but one of the properties of metamaterials is that it has a negative refractive index. And we have been able to actually make a material that has a negative refractive index at visible wavelengths, namely with blue light. So the metamaterials we make in the lab are made of nanoparticles. In fact, they are made of a binary mixture of nanoparticles. Students form an integral part of research, and as a teacher, really our job should be to educate students. And those students who are interested in doing research should be educated on how to do research. As you know, in this university there's a lot of students from China, from India, certainly the Middle East. Pay attention to their needs, try to cater to their interests, try to help them out because they are in a foreign environment, and try to see that we can get the most out of them.